Give yourself permission to indulge in the lifelong learning of your own pleasure and desire. Cancer is terrifying. When I learned that I had cancer after getting a colonoscopy, after having a year and a half of abdominal pain and not knowing why, I was so surprised and I was terrified. There was no more powerful medicine for me to pair with chemotherapy than pleasure and eros. When we are connected to our erotic core, our life force energy is unstoppable.
Welcome to today's episode of Universal Intimacy. I'm joined today by Faith Laux, a somatic sex coach and conscious kink practitioner who hails from Asheville. Faith fuses her educational wisdom with emotional intelligence into the worlds of kink, Tantra, and intimacy to help folks interested in up-leveling and claiming their erotic leadership. She coaches and guides individuals and groups to connect deeper with their bodies for the body's innate wisdom, intuition, and enchantment. Wait, I love that word, enchantment. And enchantment, really reclaiming pleasure as purposeful and powerful and helping them on their healing journeys. Faith also is joining us today, sharing her transparent and really vulnerable journey with cancer. She was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer in 2022, and she has navigated this journey utilizing holistic healing modalities and pleasure practices, really fusing these fields of restorative health and illness with conscious kink. Wow. I love that today we will be exploring the intersections between education, health, and wellness, and this really expansive field of sexuality that we are shared practitioners and graduates of the Vita Method Coaching by Layla Martin. I'm also really excited to have Faith here in Chicago, as I know she has deep roots here, and really excited to be talking about sisterhood, about our shared kinship as mothers, lovers, and practitioners in the fields of sex, kink, and wellness.
That was a great intro. Really good to be here. It's good to see everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Mm-hmm. And as we were sort of riffing on the car ride here, I didn't realize that you have this connection to Chicago and that you were once an educator here. And I find that so fascinating because education has been so important to me in my life. Really, the cornerstone of everything I do is as a lifelong learner. And so, yeah, I would love to kind of start there because I'm honoring you also as an educator in a variety of realms. And tell me more about your work in that field of education.
Yeah. So I decided to become a teacher because I had fantastic teachers growing up that inspired me. And I thought, I want to do what they do. And so I got a master's in education and went on my merry way to become a spunky, creative, whimsical Spanish teacher, and really had an incredible run of like living out this gorgeous, big arc of a career, and, authored a couple of books in Spanish for novice language learners and starred in some music videos. Coached other teachers in classroom management and burnout and wellness, and then really felt and helped transform actually a school district from a traditional way of teaching to the newer way of teaching, which actually helps students acquire the language to be able to speak the language, not just get good grades and forget it and never be able to use it for the rest of their life, which is the paradigm that I grew up with. And so I was really passionate about it and love the history that I have in education. And when the pandemic came, it felt like I was zooming up towards the pinnacle of like, this is what being a world language educator in the United States at the top of her game looks like. Like my district was flying me to other districts to study them and take best practices and pull them back to our district and, just do all of this really, really phenomenal work. And then the pandemic came and shut everything down, and my classroom got moved to Zoom. And it was a really hard time. I mean, for everybody has their pandemic story. But I, at that point, had been studying sacred sexuality with Layla Martin just as an individual, just kind of going through my own crisis of it's not even crisis of identity, but like marriage crisis. And realizing like, we had a young daughter at the time. And when I stopped breastfeeding her, my libido came back, and it came back like roaring, like, I want all of it. I want all the things. And I brought that to my husband, and he was not into it. He was super shut down about it. And, just to be specific, so people have context, I wanted to have a threesome with him and another man. And
thank you for claiming that and sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was something that until that point, I hadn't given myself permission to voice or want or let that desire be seen. And I was ready. I was like, I want this. And he responded with shutdown and disdain and like disgust is what it was. And that was painful. To have this, what felt like innocent desire come up and be like, hey, I would like to do this thing. And for him to be like, squash, no, I'm not interested. That's so, that's not for me. And I remember we were sitting on the couch one Friday night talking about this, and as he said no to that, what emerged after that from me was, well, I don't want the best sex of my life to be behind me. And at the rate that we're going, it is.
Yeah.
And that's not the life that I want to live. And so what he came back with was, well, I don't want to have a threesome. I don't want to welcome another person into our sex life in order to improve our sex life. But I am open to studying. And I am open to having other teachers and learning new things. And so that is what brought me to Layla and to studying. And that was the crisis that sort of led me into the world of sacred sexuality. I didn't even know it existed until that point. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so when my friend introduced me to her, I was like, oh, thank God somebody's doing this.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that in full transparency and vulnerability. And, with, full disclosure, I have a similar story in the relationship with my husband in my first marriage of, claiming my desires and wanting to open up the container of our marriage and it being a no for him. And although I really honored where he was at with that, I was claiming a desire for something more. And we know that something more is, not trips to Dubai and Gucci purses. It was this expansion, right? This deep awareness that when we're driven by whether it's increased libido after breastfeeding, that resonates as well, or this desire. I love how you articulated, like, I don't want the best sex of my life to be in the past of like when I was single or in college or something. I want this to continue to evolve and grow, just like we as lifelong learners always want to continue to grow and evolve in all the realms of our intellectual pursuits. How can we not want to grow and evolve in our embodied awareness of what intimacy means, right? And so, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I didn't know though that a sex, love, and relationship coach existed. We only knew like traditional couples therapy, and it didn't work for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I love that you're using the lifelong learner moniker, because we used that in my school so much, and it was such the like torch, like, you know, it was like a torch that like, we are lifelong learners and we care about, you know, like continually being curious and leveling up. But it was in this narrow field, in this narrow way. And so I'm just picturing sitting with you, like doing an in-service workshop with the teachers on the lifelong learning of Eros, you know, the lifelong learning of our own pleasure.
Right. Like, and I could have been in those professional development workshops with you and your fellow educators, again, in that scope and context of what lifelong learning looks like within K through 12 and beyond education. And yet, yeah, we're both here today in this embodied awareness that education is everything and everywhere. And why are we not educating people about their bodies, their sexuality, their desires?
And how to eat shame for breakfast.
Yes. Okay, let's go there. How to eat shame for breakfast. Okay, step one. Wait, okay, this is a beautiful, like, tell us about this. Yeah, why shame? Why do we need to eat shame for breakfast?
Well, when I think about having a room full of teachers, like my former colleagues, I'm just imagining an in-service in the school library, you know, on sexuality. And what I feel is, oh, shit, the room is shut down in shame. Like shame is the block. Shame 100%. Is the inhibitor. And you can't live this like, in order for me to have like the satisfaction and pleasure and like beautiful erotic life that I have now, I had to learn how to metabolize shame. And we all do. It's just such an important piece of stepping into what is possible. It's a huge obstacle. And so how to eat shame for breakfast, I think, begins with just naming it. I feel so ashamed to even, and this is what I do with couples. So when couples are coming to me and they can just feel like, we know there's more, but we're blocked. This is often one of the first places that we start is, okay, well, first we're just going to name it. We have to name it to tame it. We have to be able to articulate the thing that feels so raw and scary to say. And that might not be session 1. That might be session 7, you know, depending on what the thing is. And so being able to articulate it and then being able to work with the shame and like feeling the shame in our bodies and just being like, oh, this is just an emotion. This is just sensation. It's a frequency. Okay, what if I became friends with that frequency? I don't really like it. I don't want it to live in my body. I don't want to constantly go into that place of contraction and dis-ease when I think about this thing or when I think about telling my partner this desire of mine. So it begins with us becoming more relaxed, feeling it. Like the only way around is through. And so it does require, like when I say eat shame, I mean be with it.
Yeah.
You know, and that is the integration. And then it transmutes when you're able to actually be with the thing.
So exquisite. Yeah. And I mean, as somatically trained coaches, right, we know how to create the safe, sacred, bold, and brave spaces for humans to actually drop into the body and feel. For those that are just listening and not watching, you know, as Faith was talking, it's like, shame isn't just like this word on like a magnetic poetry board that you're like, oh, I feel shame. It's like, where do you feel that in your body? It's like, oh yeah, I'm a little, like you can see it in, I notice this most in femme embodied individuals because I actually used to carry myself this way. I'm quite tall and I always had like rounded shoulders, like that feeling of like, I'm protecting myself. Like I'm ashamed of my body, right? Or it can show up in the tightness in the throat or in the chest or like excess weight, right? A lot of unprocessed shame shows up in excess weight around the belly, right? So, but anyways, it's we're creating that space for individuals to actually feel into their bodies and say, oh, I feel this stickiness, stuckness, heaviness, ickiness, whatever it is, right? And then, like you said, once they bring it to the table for breakfast, because before it's like maybe in the closet or somewhere that they don't want to think about it. But it's like, I love that expression, like eating shame for breakfast, being like, okay, I'm actually going to sit at the table with this and look at it. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And then how do you get the client, once they've been able to name it and feel it, the felt sense awareness, then how do you help them actually come to the realization, like, I actually don't want to feel this anymore? Because that's the hard piece, right? Because when we've developed the patterns and the grooves so tightly, we're not even consciously aware of it to then decide we have to get rid of it or transmute it. So how do you get them to realize, actually, no, I don't want to feel that way anymore, and I'm in control of that?
Well, there's something alchemical that happens with shame when it's witnessed, when it's brought to light. Like, it thrives in the darkness and in hiding and in secrecy. But when we actually talk about it and acknowledge it, it shifts. There's something that happens, and depending on what it is, like it's not necessarily all at once, but it is this beautiful unfolding. It's like a softening, and so I think that when people are courageous enough to say the things in front of their partner and just be like, this is who I am, and this is what I like, and this is what I want, or this is what I don't want. I feel ashamed that I haven't spoken up all these years to let you know that I don't like the way you kiss. And I feel like it's too late to say it, but I don't want, like, can we change it?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to be able to help people unlock old patterns and let them slough off like a skin that no longer fits them, and then allow something new and fresh to emerge.
Yeah. Beautiful. So yeah, just by naming it and bringing the awareness, and then I'm starting to feel already into this like way that edge play or kink can be kind of woven into that. So like, I'm already going there. I'm like, Faith, we're talking about kink because I'm kink curious. Tell us about, like at what point, when sometimes, I mean, you presenced, I don't like the way you kiss. I mean, that's pretty, I don't want to call it vanilla, but that's just like naming something versus I have this desire to be in a cage and have you urinate on me, like, and I feel ashamed about that. So like, how do you navigate that? Or maybe I'm going ahead of the game and naming a interesting fetish.
I know. I'm like, wow, Josephine's throwing me off into the deep end. All right, everybody. It's so funny. When I'm thinking about the couples that come through my door, I'm like, wow, none of them have said that. It's
okay, yeah. So like, back it up. I'm like, we're here to shine the light.
We'll back it up. We'll back it up a little bit, and we'll set some context. So I think it's helpful for people to hold, just the broad definition of what kink is, which is being turned on by the taboo, turned on by that thing that you shouldn't be turned on by. That's wrong or bad. And what's taboo is different for every individual. It's different across cultures. And so you took a taboo that's taboo for our overculture, like the cage and the urination. That's like taboo. But in some contexts, and for many couples, like they wouldn't identify as kinky. And yet, if you just simply look at it from the context of being turned on by the taboo, they're absolutely kinky because they like doing it with the lights on, or they like doing it doggy style, which in their culture is shamed. And so it's not so much necessarily about the performance of it or the theatrics of it, though that is a really fun aspect of kink. It's just about the simplicity of like, I'm turned on by this thing that if people knew, so shameful.
Yeah, thank you for that. And in terms of what we consider to be taboo has this anthropological, sociological, religious, I mean, there's so many contexts of what defines taboo as taboo.
Exactly.
And you're right, it could be as simple as we have sex with the lights on, or we film ourselves having sex, right?
Right.
So I think,
right.
Yeah. I take it to some extremes, but explain how individuals and couples then can contextualize what they define as taboo, and how do you help them redefine what has maybe been labeled as naughty or dirty or shameful.
Well, I think I find it helpful to just talk in stories, and
Yes, please.
and often couples tend to pick people that they have a different erotic blueprint from. And I don't know if you've shared erotic blueprints on this podcast, but
please reference it because we haven't.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a phenomenally helpful system.
I agree.
For people. And I'll share.
Thank you, Jaya.
I know. Thank you, Jaya.
Jaia. She's so wonderful.
Yeah. I'll share how I learned about it. I was listening to a podcast on a walk at school, in between classes during the pandemic. It was a time of low nourishment because I couldn't see students. It was just like, oh my gosh, please, like, what can I do in a day to like enjoy my life? And so I would go on these walks to this forest preserve. And I was listening to the Shameless Sex podcast interviewing Jaya. And she started going through the erotic blueprints and they sounded great. I was like, okay, good. This sounds juicy. Okay, she's got 5 blueprints. And she starts with the energetic. And the energetic is turned on by the tease, by the approach, by the energy that you create with your partner, but not necessarily the touching yet. It's just the space between. And I thought, oh, that sounds nice, but not quite me. And then was the sensual, turned on by music and lights and textures and scents and flavors and massage. And I was like, well, that sounds delicious, but also not quite me. And then the third one was the sexual blueprint. And this is the one that Hollywood portrays the most, which is like all erogenous zones, passion, 0 to 60 very quickly, and just focusing on sexual turn on. I was like, well, that's hot and delicious, but am I good? But. And then she's like, okay, and the fourth one is kinky. And kinky is being turned on by the taboo. It's doing the thing that you shouldn't do. And she was like, and there's psychological kink, and there's physical kink, and you can play in all these different realms. And as soon as she laid out the kinky blueprint, I felt like something clicked into place, and I had found my tribe. I had found my people, and I belonged for the first time in my life. I did not identify as kinky up until that point because I wasn't into whips and chains. I wasn't into leather. I wasn't into all of the sort of accessories of kink. That wasn't what turned me on. But once I realized like, oh, this is like the foundation of what kink is, I was like, those are my people. Yeah. That's me. Oh, okay. So if I belong there, then I need to study. Like I need to find my teachers. I need to give myself permission to explore this world that up until now, I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was broken. And so going back to the story, a lot of people who identify as kinky feel broken. And like there's something wrong with them and like deep wounds of shame for sure. And so it's really helpful to be able to go to a coach or into a container where you're seen with love and acceptance and you're held with reverence and there's a safe space for you to talk about what you want and what you like and to be able to do that with your partner who might have a completely different blueprint from you, and be able to support, to be able to support people to figure out how to weave their erotic languages together is so satisfying.
Yeah. Ooh, beautiful. I want to go back to erotic languages because you're also a master of linguistics. But before we do that, I'm curious with the kink blueprint and how it overlaps with like archetypal tendencies and IFS work. Because when I hear about the kink blueprint, and I also I'm there's a fifth category, which is like all
the
above.
Shapeshifter.
I'm a shapeshifter, so I'm all of them. And
when
I think about how my kink blueprint shows up, it's in defiance and like my rebellious teenager, right? So it's that awareness that, like you said, it's not about the whips and chains and the toys. It's simply about being naughty, and whether that shows up in a little girl archetype as a brat, or it shows up in this like defiant, rebellious teenager that for me was unexpressed. Like I was the good girl growing up. I was student body president, model UN, debate team, top of my class, went to Dartmouth. So I didn't get to like drink in high school, or like I had a fantasy. I would tell you about I had a fantasy about like sneaking out of the window to like go visit a boyfriend. But like I didn't even have a boyfriend. You know what I mean? I was just like, I just want to be the bad girl. And so because I had that unexpressed iteration within those adolescent years, like it just didn't get to express itself. I now find that it comes out in my eros, in that desire to be naughty and defiant and rebellious. Does that track for you?
100%.
Yes, right?
100%. Yeah. And so then diving right into the world of like kink, like my bread and butter, I would say, is the intersection between kink and healing. Like I think it's tremendously healing to be able to play, to take that aspect of play. Yeah. Like you were just talking about, like erotic theater in a way, you know? Kink is all about play. That we literally have scenes where it's like the erotic encounter is a scene. You negotiate what it is up front. It has 3 parts: the negotiation, the scene, and the aftercare.
Wait, slow down, sister, because these are like golden nuggets. Okay. And we have a shared language, but our listeners maybe don't.
Okay, so I'll slow down.
Tell us the 3 components to a scene.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I want to join you in your original question of internal family systems, archetypes, and kink. And to begin, within the world of kink, the engagement comes in 3 parts. When you have a partner or multiple people that you're working with. And it begins with a negotiation. And that's when you really get to very clearly figure out what it is you want, what it is you don't want, and anything else that needs to get tucked in to awareness before moving into the scene, which is the experience itself. And the scene might be an impact play scene with spanking or flogging. It might be wax play. It might be a theatrical scene where you're playing out something like, hey, I want to have a redo. I want you to be my boyfriend from high school, and I'm going to go back into my, 15-year-old self. And I'm literally like, I want to create a scene where I sneak out the window and then come meet you and like
my mouth is watering. My mouth is watering right now.
Or I want you to come sneak in through my window and come meet me, and like, so it could literally be a theatrical erotic scene that you get to experience. And once the scene is over, you have the 3rd chapter, which is aftercare. And within the world of kink, these scenes can get very intense and take you to deep places that are almost psychedelic. I mean, you're in an altered state of consciousness when you're running erotic energy, whether it be tantrically or in a kink way, you're in an altered state. And so aftercare is that chapter that brings you back down to earth. It brings you back into your body and back into the present moment and helps you integrate the journey that you just went on. And it can, one of the beautiful things about aftercare is that it doesn't have to just be the moments after the scene. They can extend for days or, as long as you ask for and as long as you want. So I think archetypally, there is a whole world of play that exists when we give ourselves permission to go there in the world of kink and eros.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful. So much there. I'm like trying to cherry pick, but yeah, this erotic language, right? And something that you just mapped out in terms of the negotiation and the scene and the articulation and execution of that. And then this aftercare piece, which has this arc of completion and how we understand set and setting and context regarding like what may happen in this experience as a transformational healing journey, right? And I think that's the part of kink that is often totally missed and overlooked when people, again, think of, oh, I'm kinky or I have a fetish or I'm on Fet Life. It's like, I want to act out some scenes that I saw in 50 Shades of Grey, and they're missing this piece of it being a healing modality. And so, yeah, please like unravel this for us even more, because I think that I desire that the world knows about this modality and we start to understand that the precise place that we've put this practice in, which is a world of shame or disgust or you know, labeling it as wrong or naughty. That's the precise lens with which we need to see it in order to bring it into the light and understand that it is the way that we can really revolutionize and heal humanity and this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love, there's a lot in what you just said that I love. And I agree that the world of kink, I think the reason I didn't identify with it is because of all of the projections I had as to what it was and what it wasn't. And like, that could not possibly be me, you know? And now that I've learned more and had teachers teach me about how to weave, you know, weave these erotic practices in with working with clients in a way that is filled with integrity has been beautiful, you know? And so to be able to guide people on these conscious kink experiences, it's really rewarding. I have a client who is in her early 70s and she in her words said that she felt like she was dying on the vine. Like she just wanted to feel alive again and like connected to her eros and her juiciness, you know? And so I created a ritual for her that was a sensation play experience that was multifaceted, and we brought her back to her body with reverence and beauty, and in a way that like when it was complete, you know, and it took us a while to even lead up to that, you know, to understand like, what does this mean? And what is the resistance? What are you breaking through? What are the old, you know, the old skin that you're wearing that you're ready to slough off, to really be able to have an experience to kind of like we talk about embodiment and somatics a lot, but to be able to have this embodied experience of like crossing the threshold of like leaving the desert behind and becoming this like juicy, full grape that's ready to burst. You know?
Wow.
And like that is possible.
Right.
In these kinds of settings.
Yeah. And like, it's not just words and talking and coaching. They're actually getting this embodied reference point of this lived experience in the context of a ritualized container in which they're safely held and navigated in and through, that it like lands different in the body and the soma, so that then they can like feel the ripple effect throughout their life. And I guess what I'm curious about for you is being a trauma-informed coach and how do you understand, how do you hold, you know, the individual's experience? Let's just say there's sexual trauma, right? And a history with that. And how do you navigate a scene in such a way safely, knowing that you also may be unraveling and bringing up past trauma?
I mean, I think this is why I work with people for longer periods of time, for like a 6-month minimum in my one-on-one practice, because there is a lot of safety that's needed in order to do something like that, to have that kind of a deep, you know, conscious kink ritual. And so it's...
So you're saying clients can't just like come and have this one-off experience with you?
No.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really honor that.
Yeah. It requires, I mean, it requires such a deep level of safety and trust, you know, and that takes time. It takes time to build, you know, and I don't do this with every client. This is not necessarily something that's like, you know, it emerges naturally often within the scope of our time together. Like, I think that we could create this profound experience. What would you like to, you know? And so I'll offer it up as like a piece of, you know, like a menu item. And, you know, I think I think there's a lot of people who don't like, we're not even exposed to the possibilities of this, like the creativity that we have at our fingertips. Like we're just not trained to think outside of the box in this way. And yet when a story like 50 Shades of Grey comes along and like blows up the cultural consciousness of the moment, there's something there. And there's a lot of people who are like, wait, there's something here for me. I remember reading that book and being like, fuck, there's something really big here for me. I don't know what it is, but hey, John, please read pages 79 through 84. And, you know, he read the pages and was like, that's not my jam. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
You know, and so when I'll weave Cancer in, because this is an interesting intersection. I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer in May of 2022, and it lit a fire under my ass to live the way I actually wanted to be living. And I went on a retreat with Layla, like about a month and a half after I got surgery on my colon and my liver. And it felt like a pilgrimage. Like I need to go on this retreat for some reason. I don't know what, but I need to be there. And I was scared. I was like, but I can't lift heavy things. And I was like, if the only thing between you and going on this retreat is asking a stranger to lift your luggage and put it in the overhead compartment, you can do that, Faith. You can go on this retreat. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And so spending the week with her and 100 other sex coaches in this gorgeous retreat center in Costa Rica, it was eating shame for breakfast multiple times a day. It was eating shame multiple times a day. And I just burned
putting
through.
on a crown.
Yeah. I mean, I worked through so much of my own internalized resistance or like, you know, stuckness that week. And I came out like a polished pearl of like vibrating at this frequency of delight and pleasure and possibility and conviction. Like pleasure matters, living into my full fuck yes energy matters. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to live my life in accordance with my heart, my mind, my pussy, my spirit, my toes. Like I want everything on board. I want it to be a full yes. And I came back from that retreat having dedicated to devoting my life to pleasure during the 6 months that I was going to be receiving chemotherapy.
Wow.
And so I knew I was coming back, kind of getting ready for this really intense experience, and that I wanted pleasure to be my North Star. And so I was painting. I was on purpose wearing dresses, whereas before I might have worn yoga pants and t-shirts. I was listening to music. I was like, how can I add more pleasure to my day everywhere I go? And one of the threads of that was saying yes to kink and learning through Jaya's organization, learning more deeply, the Erotic Freedom Club, learning more deeply about what I like, how could I live and get access to these kinky experiences, being in a monogamous relationship with somebody who is very disinterested in kink. And so I started to ask questions of kinky people and learn about FetLife and learn that there were events that took place that weren't sexual, that were just social. And I was like, what? I can do, like, okay, so there's like a way in. There's an aspect, there's like a part of the Venn diagram that I have access to in the context that I'm in. And so I started to go to these events. I went to a kinky comedy show in Asheville with my chemo pump attached to me underneath my clothes, and just like got to absorb this kinky comedy show and learn like, oh, I think that guy who's a shibari practitioner, from his comedy scene, I'm intuiting that he wasn't sexual with his partner. He was just tying her up. Maybe I can ask my husband if he's cool with me reaching out to this man and seeing if he's willing to just tie me up in a non-sexual way.
Right.
And so I just kept following the little threads of yes and consent and, okay, John, you're cool with that? Okay, let me go out to tea with this guy. oh, you do that and that's normal? Okay, great. And so then I'm getting tied up by this man in his living room and feeling so good. Just like that sense of containment and freedom and permission, and just in my head being like, I can't believe this is happening. This is so exciting and phenomenal. And then having somebody who was a veteran in the kink community be somebody that I could be a sounding board for. Like, okay, so tell me more. Like, if this is possible, what else is possible? And learning about these, like, public play parties that are also not sexual. So there's this whole realm of kink that was available to me that I had no idea about.
Wow.
And so I just dove in head first and got all of the experiences and did all of the things and created my first group coaching program that I called Kink Curious, that welcomes people into this world that have no idea how to access it. Because it often is portrayed as this very dark, heavy, intense thing that you need like VIP access to, and it's either all or nothing, like you have to be all kinky or none at all. But there's so many shades of gray to be able to come in and have tastes of this. Yeah.
Wow. I'm getting a little emotional as I'm hearing you talk. Especially on this last point of understanding that kink can be this dark, heavy, intense thing to navigate, as is cancer. And like to hear that you were navigating that and like embarking on that journey, which, I think every single human on this planet has a relationship to, because either a loved one has journeyed through it, or a family member, or just someone in your intimate fields. I think the C word affects us all and has its own connotations and projections and distortions. And so, I'm just like imagining you sitting there at this improv with like the chemo pump. And I'm just like, I'm so in awe of you. Like, wow, thank you. Like, thank you for sitting here with me today and just sharing this with our audience. Like, it's like otherworldly. Like, just please color this in for us more, because most humans would think of cancer as a battle. And I know you've embraced it as a journey, and that your journey has been infused with pleasure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for slowing me down.
Yeah.
And for feeling. Yeah. Yeah. Cancer is terrifying. When I learned that I had cancer after getting a colonoscopy, after having 1.5 years of abdominal pain and not knowing why, I was so surprised and I was terrified. It was, it was the first time that I really like didn't take for granted that my life was going to go on for, ever. And I really felt like, oh, this could be it. Like, soon, what? And if this is it, then how do I want to live in the remainder of my days? And so cancer is a very intense teacher. And I didn't go on the cancer journey enjoying the battle language of me versus cancer. I really embraced this idea that my body is intelligent and it's trying to tell me something, and I studied German New Medicine, and it's a really beautiful body of knowledge that basically shares how all of the ailments that we have in our body are responses to experiences, to conflicts that we've had. And our illnesses are our body's attempt to heal the conflict. The illness being acne or psoriasis, or, there's like really anything that's not poison, or like a wound from the outside, an injury from the outside. Like, it's the body's way of saying, something to us. And so I studied with, I did some coaching with a German new medicine coach after surgery. And her intake form was 60 pages long. It was so intense. And it looked into all of my trauma. There was this, she asks about everything. She's looking at like every aspect of your life holistically. And one of the assignments was list your traumas chronologically. And I don't walk around with big T trauma, I'm lucky to say, but just like anybody else, I have had plenty of traumas, small t. And I put them down on the paper and I was just like, whoa, I'm carrying a lot. Okay. And when we got on our first coaching call and we started digging into some of these conflict areas of my life, the one that actually emerged as the biggest pain point was that night that I was sitting down with John on the couch talking about wanting a threesome and him shutting it down and saying no. And colon cancer within German new medicine is perceived as a conflict of an undigestible morsel. Yeah. And that's how there's sort of this like way that each thing is described.
Sure.
And so we were looking to find the undigestible morsel in my history. And what emerged for me was, oh my gosh, there's a morsel on the table there. It's a morsel of sensuality and sexuality and pleasure and ravishment and satisfaction and affection and bliss. But I can't have that morsel. That's not for me. I can't digest it. I want it, but I can't have it. And so I, from that point on the journey of healing, got to like really come to terms with like, that was more traumatizing than I realized, to have this desire and have it be denied in such, but not just denied neutrally. It was like disgust, to have it be met with disgust. And so John and I got to get support and coaching around our erotic differences and around his disgust and around his shame and around, my desires that were completely different. And so that became a chapter of our healing too. And so cancer was this catalyzer for me and my growth and for honesty, because I wasn't willing to live a life that wasn't true to my deepest desires anymore, because I didn't know how long I would have to live, and it keeps, like, I got cancer that came back again 2 years later, 2.5 years later. And, and still I don't see it as like a battle. It came back on my ovary. And so I thought, okay, here you are again. I was pretty upset when it came back. Because even though I had, the first round of cancer come to see it as a blessing, like it was a blessing that it came with its fierce teachings to help me like take a sword and like cut away all of the things that didn't serve and create boundaries and grow things that I actually wanted. I thought it was done. I was like, oh, I've done the emotional work. I did my coaching package, cancer. Didn't you get the message? Like, I did the deep emotional, spiritual work, cancer. Like, I figured out the conflict.
Yeah. You're like, the morsel.
Yeah. I figured out how to digest my morsel, cancer. And it came back. And so this second round of cancer, it was interesting because I was like, okay, well, what's next? What stone haven't I uncovered? Yeah. And it was the stone of my body and food I was putting into my body. and sort of the lifestyle that I was living. I hadn't changed my diet one lick from the first time around. And so then I started studying, okay, well, like, let's really get down to the biology of it, and like cancer being a metabolic illness. And oh, look at me, I'm drinking alcohol and eating bagels and like all the things that cancer loves sugar. And I was just feeding it like there was no tomorrow, thinking not twice of it because I had healed it on an emotional level. And so this go around was way more about diet and lifestyle and learning about the biology of my cells and how to support my body in a different way. And I came across a woman named Dr. Katie Deming, who is she was trained as a radiation oncologist originally. And then she shifted after a shared death experience into being a holistic oncologist. And she is the conscious oncologist, is sort of her moniker. And I started listening to her podcast, Born to Heal, and learning about all these different ways that I could be supporting my body through the water, the kinds of water that I was drinking and the kinds of food that I was eating. And then water fasting. She was water fasting her clients for an extended period of time. And I thought, oh, I'm interested in this. I'm very interested in this. And so, cancer.
Yeah, tell us about this, the water fast. I'm curious as well, and as a detox methodology and a practice, like what, if you can color in like physiologically, chemically, biochemically, what's happening when you fast?
Yeah. So when we fast and we're not digesting food, our body has energy. It's like attention. Our attention can only go in one direction. And so when we eat food, the attention of our body immediately goes to digesting that food because it has to. It doesn't want the food to just sit there. That's not good. And so when we fast, that attention is freed up and it can go toward healing. And so when you fast for an extended period of time, the healing goes deeper and deeper, and you can actually eradicate. You go into a state of autophagy. And autophagy is a state of being where the body is looking for fuel. And when there's no food coming in, it starts to eat itself and the low-hanging fruit of the body that are not going to impair or have an ill effect on the vital organs. And so it looks for scar tissue. It looks for cancer cells. It looks for, the parts of our bodies that are not necessary, like fat. It eats up old stores of fat. And so I really felt compelled and drawn to this experience and wanted to have a vision quest with it, like I did 14 days of just drinking water, and it was profound. It was just, I did it in June of this year, a month after.
You were like Instagramming during
I know.
it too.
Well, I did it during the water fast.
I was, she's doing a water fast. She's doing a vision quest.
It's totally true. Yeah. I was Instagramming before and after, but during I was just like in the portal.
Sure.
And
tell us. Yeah, tell us about this portal.
Girl, it was a full frequency reset. It was a full reset. It reset my microbiome. It reset my body. There is no evidence.
You look
of
great,
disease.
by the way. You look fabulous.
Thank you. I feel fabulous. And but it was really a deep dive into frequency, like high frequency, like waking up and putting my bare feet in the dewy grass every morning and drinking water and listening to the birds and just doing like like putting sun on my body, like the nourishment of the simple things and learning like what fed me that wasn't food. Like eye contact became nourishing. Touch became way more nourishing. Smells were incredible. Words of affirmation are food, And so I came out of this experience like with a renewed alignment to myself, my soul, my spirit, my body. And I also feel less arrogant about cancer. Like it might come back. It came back once. Like there was a way that when like the first round, I was like, I got this.
Yeah.
I took care of it. We're all good. And I kind of envy the people who go through experiences, like mystical experiences with their bodies, or, even a water fast. Some people have gone through a water fast and just like felt it's done. Cancer's gone. I'm free. And part of me is like, nope, made that mistake once. I'm just gonna surrender to the unknown and keep living my life as the gift that it is until I'm no longer here, however that happens.
Wow. Thank you so much for that transmission on cancer as a teacher and a friend. It's like I'm hearing this song like, hello, darkness, my old friend. It's like, hello, teacher. Like, thank you for showing up again at this moment in my journey to gift me another lesson.
Yeah.
Right? And how beautiful that you were able to decipher and discern in this second iteration that you needed to go into the physicality of the body and live more holistically with your gut. And I love this share. I mean, as you know, I'm a practitioner in food as well. And so this awareness sometimes that food is an emotional act. And so your share regarding when you weren't intaking what we know to be traditional food, you were still being nourished by these things like eye contact and touch and these emotional and sensorial and somatic things are also like they're so nourishing on a soul level, right? And this is why, I mean, I only know from some of my experiences in these deep immersive containers where I'm not eating very much. I'm not taking in nutrients, but I leave these containers feeling so nourished, so full, so on fire. Like my soul is nourished exactly from what you're speaking into of that level of connectivity with the eye contact, with the touching, with this soul nourishment, I would call it, right?
Yeah. And I think like the word that keeps popping into my head as I'm hearing you talk and as I'm reflecting on this chapter is frequency. It is so important for us to know what frequency we want to live in and surround ourselves with that frequency. Yes. And then when we come across somebody or something that's like an old frequency, like we have the freedom to just let it go and not choose it.
Yeah, what you're speaking into, it sounds very familiar to anyone who also would do like a detox, right? Whether it's a juice cleanse or even like a heavy metal detox or a parasite cleanse or a liver cleanse. It's very similar, right? In that you're really aware of what's no longer serving you in a physical, tangible way in the body. And then it translates into your everyday life, whether that's cleaning out the closets, whether that's closing containers in relationships or creating boundaries of like who's no longer in alignment with the frequency that I'm now vibrating at, right? And so it's I'm curious how it showed up for you in these two iterations of like creating the boundaries, understanding your frequency, understanding who you're here to serve, understanding what you're calling in and what community means.
Man. That's like a big invitation. I'm not even sure which direction to take it. Truly. But it's, I'll just say, I'll share a story. I did a session as I was in the reintegration period from the fast. There's a refeeding period. So you don't just go straight back into food. You do broth. And so it's a meat stock, actually. It's not broth. It's a meat stock. So you cook this gorgeous, gorgeous soup. This one was a chicken stock with blended zucchini in it and a little bit of salt and strained out. So there's no actual meat. It's just the meat and the bones infuse the soup. I remember the first taste was like out of this world. out of this world, that first taste of soup after not having eaten for 2 weeks. It was like chowder. It was like corn was in it and like summertime and a spoon. It was so, so good. And so in that period of refeeding where I was still just doing broths and things, I did a healing with a man in Australia. And we looked at some, like he was, he's connected to the etheric realms and these other quantum realms that I'm not necessarily consciously connected to. And one of the things that he said to me was, okay, you're in a really open state, not just from this healing that we just did, but from your experience in the water fast. I want you to become very aware of what groups you go into in the next 3 weeks. What's the frequency? And he gave me this chart and he was like, I need you to like assess energetically, intuitively, where do these groups fall on this frequency chart? And think about the events coming up that you're invited to. And I had a couple. And so I thought about the event and I was like, oh, nope, too low. I can't go to that. And then I thought about the next event and I was like, that's questionable. That's maybe. But in the world of somatics, a maybe is a no.
Yeah.
Especially in the world of kink. Like we only say yes to the things that we're an enthusiastic yes for. That's the realm that we play in. Right. And so when we think about frequency, like we need to be thinking about it, about, like the gatherings that we go to, the stores that we shop in, the food that we're putting in our body, the kinds of conversations that we have, like I can have a conversation with my mom and it can take any number of frequencies. Sometimes they're low and hard and heavy, but I have an influence over those. So it's not, I'm not trying to say cut people out who aren't quite the frequency that you want, but consciously choose to influence the frequency of the relationships you have and the containers that you're in.
100%. I love that. So much is coming through for me. I would love to like color that in with a personal share, because I just had this conversation with my father last night, and my parents are aging and I'm needing to be there to support them more. And I'm traveling a lot this month of September. And so my dad's like, when are you coming home? And I'm like, I can come these dates in October, but September is a little challenging for me. And he started to take it into a frequency of shame and guilt, not just regarding not seeing them, but he was particularly picking up a thread on financial responsibility, because my father supports me a lot financially. And so he was like, you need to come home because we need to review your finances because you're not financially solvent. Like, kind of like, you're a fucked up mess. Like, it was literally that frequency of like, you're a fucked up mess. And so you need to come home so that we can like sit down and have this conversation. And I consciously chose to not take on that frequency. And I'm like, Dad, I'm hearing that you and Mom would really love to see me because you love me and I love you so much. And I would really love to see you. So I'm going to do whatever I can on Sunday night after my workshop that I'm teaching to drive up to Wisconsin to see you all because I love you, right? Like I caught it right there where I was like, I'm not going to continue to feel this frequency. So I'm going to consciously shift it into the highest vibration that I know, which is love. And luckily they like picked it up. They're like, okay, we love you. Like it would be great to see you, but it's like, we do have control in each and every moment, whether or not we want to be a part of a conversation. And I think our society currently is really pushing people to walk away, to ghost, to cut people out, not deal with them, instead of actually constructively and somatically teaching people how to lean into that feeling of uncomfortability and conflict with curiosity, and then coaching people how they can redirect the energy or shift the frequency in such a way to be of the highest service for all, right? Like maybe that's a more advanced level, but I'm just seeing like, hey, there's something here where so many humans would either engage in the fight, take it personally, internalize it, walk away, cut their parents off and be like, I'm never talking to you again, or, whatever people do. And like, how can we choose the highest path, which is love?
Wow. I'm really celebrating you for doing that.
Thank you.
That's a big deal. Yeah. I think our parents are like one of the more challenging relationships because they're here with us through it all. And as we grow and change, like our relationships need to grow and change with us. And sometimes, like when you think about the span of your life and all the friends you've had, there's probably very few that you've had for the duration of your life from like childhood to now.
Yeah.
But your parents have been with you this whole time. And so for them, you know, like it's challenging. I'm just honoring the challenge and like you being able to take that and take a breath and take a beat and reflect back like what was underneath it all. Yeah. And just orient to that and orient like to that higher frequency. It is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And doing the work that we do to be of service, right? We're always consciously choosing the highest frequency and we're holding our clients in that. And sometimes I'm finding that it can be challenging as certain clients are coming into our field, prospective clients who need a lot of healing. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious how that shows up for you in terms of your vetting process or understanding when your medicine is for that person, when your energy is for that person, whether they're ready for the work versus when the frequency may be such that it's not in alignment.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going?
Yeah,
You're like nodding a lot. And I'm like, this is very alive within my field right now. So I'm really, really curious on your perspective on this.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a revelation to me when I was working with a business coach a couple of years ago when he said that I didn't have to take every client that wanted to work with me. I was like, wait, what? He was like, no, like you get to choose, who you want to work with and period. Like you can deny people even if they're willing to pay. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a revelation. That is like, you know, taking that full yes energy into practice. Like if I'm not a full yes for somebody that I'm doing a discovery call with, then I will in as loving as a way as possible, share why I don't think I'm a good fit.
Right.
You know, and why I'm not a yes to saying to welcoming them in. Like the discovery call is not just for them to go shopping. It's both of us shopping to see, like, do I want you as a client? Do you want me as your coach? It's a very mutual experience. And often by the time people come to me, like my website, my Instagram, like everything is so clear and it's loud in terms of like what frequency I'm putting out there. And so they get it. They get the frequency. And when they finally come to a discovery call, they're kind of like, no, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. And they can kind of like, they're vibed in already. And
yeah, I feel you on that. And I feel that this field of work in particular, anytime we're dealing with sexuality, it can get a little wobbly and wonky. So I'm honoring you that people come and they're clear that they're ready, but there's also this like allurement and this magnetism and this seduction that's just inherent in the expression of this field and even putting out that you're a kink coach, you know? So it's like, it's a lot of times treading through really murky waters to decipher and discern who is ready for the medicine and ready for this work and who I resonate more with the term tantrika at times. And so I just will like bow and be like, I am not the tantrika for you, you know, and that perhaps is the precise medicine that they need.
Yeah.
Right. Is to learn how to receive rejection.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I love rejection. I love rejection. I eat rejection for breakfast.
Yes.
It's such a practice, right?
Yeah.
As a businesswoman in these spaces.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, I think that's the gift that we get to bring to whoever comes our way. Like we get to support people to take the hardest things that feel the least digestible and help them digest them. Like rejection is unpalatable. Rejection is like, ugh, gross. Like, I don't know, like if I were to create a little invisible buffet here of all the things that I would want to avoid and shove under the rug, rejection would be there, embarrassment would be there, shame would be there, failure would be there. I mean, what else are we adding to this buffet of like what we get? But like, this is the work.
Right.
We get to heal ourselves and we get to support other people to heal, to digest these things. This is part of the human experience.
Yeah.
It's not easy being human.
Yeah. And then I feel like what I'm feeling already into is like the layers underneath that, which are these primal wounds of abandonment, fear of death. Right.
Yeah. And to have a safe space to touch these places, to unravel them, to take that tangled, tight knot inside of our bodies where they reside and like bring it presence and love. I'll take that over Spanish teaching any day.
Spanish teacher turned sex coach. Yeah. I mean, yeah, this world of, for some reason, ravishment wants to come out. I'm like this even this concept. I love that you claim that you like wanted to be ravished and whatever.
I wanted to be devoured. Like,
yeah, whatever the kink is, it's like claiming that desire, I feel, is the hardest thing for humanity. Right? Like I can interview 100 clients, 100 humans. And I actually did this at Exotica, which is a sex conference in here. It's in Chicago, but it's also in Miami and DC and New Jersey. And I was running the dungeon and I was sort of like this mistress that greeted people. And I was like, what is your deepest, darkest desire? And 90% of people, you want to know what they said? I don't know. I don't know. Like they couldn't articulate what a desire was or felt like. I just was met over and over and over again with, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I think the first thing that comes to me, I think I have a both and response to that.
Yeah, tell me.
One is, you're right. Most people don't think about what they desire and like have a really clear articulation of that. And context. They're probably in line, like waiting to get into the dungeon in this place, and you're the gatekeeper, and they're like, what? And you're like, tell me your deepest, darkest desire. And they're like, is that like, well, I'm curious about the context. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a safe context to share my deepest, darkest desire with a strange woman who's sexily looking at me.
That is the context. You're at a sex conference. Your deepest, darkest desire is going to be something related to these dark spaces that we are here to shine a light on. And
no, I hear you, but
humanity.
I also am an advocate for the like wrapping, like for nervous systems feeling that sense of safety and containment. And I'm like, girl, I probably would have said, I don't know either.
Thank you, Faith. You're right. I love when I'm with practitioners such as yourself who understand how to approach.
I think that every single one of those people, if they were in a one-on-one session with you, sitting across from you, and had spent a time like settling in, they all would have had a deep, dark desire to share with you.
Right, 100%. And right, the context is within immersive ritual-based theater, right? This was an immersive ritual-based theater piece in which I was archetypally taking on this role, right? This isn't like a coaching
You weren't like the right, yeah.
Yeah, it was intentionally such to make someone feel agitated and aggravated and activated.
Ooh. That was my nickname when I used to work at a Catholic school, not a handful of miles from here. I had a nickname that all the other teachers called me, and I was nicknamed the Agitator. It was high
You're
praise.
A provocateur as well. Oh my God, I'm sitting with another sacred disruptor. No wonder I love you.
Totally.
No wonder we resonate so deeply on a soul level. Yeah, it's interesting to weave back in education and to like, you were a teacher in K through 12 settings, and you are now a teacher. I would still say that you're a phenomenal educator, and what that looks like now is obviously a little bit different. But it's like for the teachers listening and watching, for people in the system of traditional institutionalized education. What do you want to say?
Give yourself permission to indulge in the lifelong learning of your own pleasure and desire.
Yes. Yes. We need to normalize the lifelong learning of our pleasure.
And it changes over time. It changes. It evolves just like anything does.
Right.
Let it.
Right.
Feed it. Be fed by it. Like when, you know this, when we are connected to our erotic core, our life force energy is unstoppable. I mean, there was no more powerful medicine for me to pair with chemotherapy than pleasure and eros, because it's my aliveness. It's my spark. Like, it's the most powerful, current to tap into, you know? And so when the going gets tough, and the tough times are here for all of us in different ways and forms. So surround yourself with, like, what is your North Star? What fills you with delight and pleasure? Because there's this, I think also this notion that, like, if we focus on our own pleasure, then we're somehow not being good enough for others. Like, I'm not a good enough mom, or I'm not a good enough wife. Like, wait, actually it's totally the opposite. Like, the more that we can be selfish about feeding ourselves and giving ourselves the deep bone marrow, deep nourishment that we want in our life, we carve out time and space for it, the better mothers, the better wives, the better teachers, the better lovers, the better friends that we are.
Thank you for that. Yeah. And it's not just about bubble baths and girls' trips to Sedona and massages.
It's about honesty. It's about rawness. It's about letting people actually see us and feel us.
Yes.
It's about the thing. It's about that thing, that table that I just put out here of the invisible stuff on top, the stuff that holds us back. Like, our biggest power, it's in the kinks. It's in the points of our body and our beings where our energy is locked up. If we can go to these points where everything is clamped down and shut down, and just slowly bring love, attention, presence to those places, it opens up. We open up our our flow. Like, when we stop repressing. I mean, it takes so much energy to repress and resist. It's exhausting. That's part of why we're so burnt out and exhausted, is because we're trying so hard to pretend that we're not. And we're, like, just piling everything on top of everything else. Like,
Yes. Thank you so much for being here as a mother. And we're probably in similar age brackets. I know perimenopause is a thing. And, you know, this could be a whole nother podcast episode, but just, I just see so many women, in particular wives and mothers, suffering because they haven't learned this really critical piece that you're speaking into, of not just claiming pleasure and doing the things that bring you joy and bliss, but actually doing the deep work to identify these kinks, you know. And as you're saying it, I'm envisioning the kink in the hose, the kink in the chain. And when we don't actually take the time to slowly undulate and unravel it, then that's where that stuck, stagnant energy is that actually puts us into a state of dis-ease. As you have navigated so honorably and gracefully, and like, wow, I'm so in awe of you. And I just feel like so many, I'm just going to speak specifically of femme-bodied, like, moms, you know, because I also have a deep wounding here, because I had a very tight mom community. And when my marriage unraveled and I claimed this path of sacred sexuality, I lost all of my female friends. And I remember even this, it was a Facebook picture. Maybe it was an Instagram. I can't remember if I had Facebook or Instagram at this time, but I was like, it was a Labor Day weekend and I was sitting wearing a bikini, and my caption was like, "Summer isn't over yet," or something. And these women that were, again, my friends, my dear friends, I had served on boards, I had done gala fundraising events at my kids' school, were like making fun of me because I was wearing a bikini. Like, this was many years ago, but like, that I was a mom wearing a bikini and putting that on my Instagram, and they ridiculed me. They laughed. They said things behind my back. I don't know what they were saying. I just know that I was shamed because I was choosing this path of embodiment and sacred sexuality. And so containers like the Vita Method training, which is all femme-bodied, other divine feminine embodiment retreats that I've done were really my lifesaver to learn that there are other women that are on this journey, that we're here to love each other, accept each other, celebrate each other in the totality of who we are. And the totality of who we are is as sensual and sexual beings.
Oh my gosh, it's our essence.
Yeah.
It's our essence. And this schism that exists in society that says that mothers aren't sexual. Ugh.
Right? I know.
I'm so over it.
We're
Mothers
so
are
over
sexual. Mothers are sexy. Like, sex is what made us mothers. Like, it is who we are.
Yeah.
You know? I'm here for it. And I'm really glad that you've been getting the support to find the people with the right frequency who are eating shame for breakfast and are, you know, living this like lush, vivacious life.
And curating offerings like Kink Curious. So tell us about Kink Curious, other offerings that you have, how folks can find you and stay connected with you and just, stay in your juicy field and frequency.
Sure. Yeah. If you want to bathe in my frequency, come on in.
Yeah.
So Kink Curious is a group coaching container that I've created, and it's hybrid. So there's 10 pre-recorded video modules where people get to really learn what they need to learn in order to enter the world of kink feeling like, I know what I'm doing. Like, of course it's going to be novel, but I understand. I've got a framework and a foundation that I can hang my coat on. And then there's also group coaching calls. And so that's when we get to come together as a community, and I get to offer my wisdom to people individually and then teach as a group and lead experiences and guide people into creative, unique invitations in their own lives. It's so fun. It's so juicy. It's been profound for the people who have gone through it. And even kinky people who've gone through it have gotten something really beautiful out of it, because often, you know, people who identify as kinky, like, they weren't formally trained. They just kind of like, you know, got invited by somebody and then kept going.
Sure.
And so that is a beautiful way to work with me. And I do one-on-one coaching with individuals and couples. And I think that's
and
what
you're
I've
based
got.
in Asheville, but you also do virtual, right?
Yeah. So I work with people virtually and in person. And I might do more events in Chicago.
Yeah, you might.
I'm teaching one tomorrow.
Yeah, you're coming here. You're coming here more. I love that we have this, co-creative field that's brewing and percolating and gestating, feeling it. I love you so much.
Yeah.
And in closing, sometimes I like to ask my guests, what does universal intimacy mean to you?
Universal intimacy to me means slowing down and really being present with the person that I'm with the tree that I'm with the blade of grass that I'm with the cloud that I'm with, and feeling connected to them and the all that is.
Yes, I love you so much. Thank you for being here.
I love you too.
So
Thank you for having me.
So meaningful.
Thank you, Josephine.